Hello and welcome to the Consulting B1's presentation of SAP Business One. What are we going to be looking at today is the purchasing module and the purchasing process. So in SAP Business One and inside the purchasing module, I can create a purchase quotation, a purchase order that's going to go with or without approval in the workflow, a goods receipt of the goods that I received into the warehouse, and match that to an AP invoice. Alternatively, if I don't want to follow those processes, I can simply come in and create, for example, an AP invoice or a goods receipt. I don't have to follow the various steps, but if I would like to and create more of a situation where I need approvals, then I can follow that process of a quotation into a purchase order to a goods receipt, then AP invoice. The beauty of SAP Business One is that it gives you the flexibility to do it either way. So let's start by having a look at the purchase quotation in SAP Business One. Purchase quotation allows you to create a request for a quotation from your supplier. So let's choose a particular supplier or vendor. We're going to go with Max Smith, and as I can see, all of the information that were inputted in the Business Partner Master data inside SAP were imported into my purchase quotation. So that saves me a lot of time and gives me a lot of functionality. What is left for me to input is my vendor reference number, which can be whatever I want or whatever reference number type I use in my company. I can put in my required date, so let's say I want it tomorrow. If I was to want the required date to be today, I can type in any letter and simply unfocus from the field, and it will set the required date to be today. Next, what is left for me to choose is the item or the service type that I want to quote. Will it be an item or a service? I will show you both examples, but let's start with an item. So in here, in this table, I simply type in my item number. So let's say I want this office print. I can input my quoted date. I'm going to put today, just so we can go through all of the fields. My required quantity, so let's say I want 10 of those, and add a unit price of $20. My total, then it can be counted automatically, or I can type it in manually. So let's put it at 200. My country of origin, and a lot of other fields that I might need required. I'm not going to go through all of them, since these form settings can be adjusted according to your company needs by simply heading over to the form settings section in the toolbar, going into the table format, and here I can add any field that I want or even remove fields that I don't need. Next, what I'm going to input in most of the purchase quotations will be the sales employee or the buyer in this case. So I'm going to set that to Brad Thompson, and it's going to ask me, do I want to update existing rows? But this basically is asking me, since I chose a different buyer or a different employee, do I want the contact information to be updated accordingly? In most cases, I'm going to go with yes, since I want everything to be true, and a neat field that you have in each of these documents when you create them in SAP Business One are the remarks. So I can type in anything that I wish that is relevant to this document. So I can put in, please include all relevant documentation for this item. Head over to the add button, and here we can see that our purchase quotation has been created. I'm going to simply click on OK, and what I now have in the system is a purchase quotation or a request for a quotation for 10 of these items that I added with the required date that I stated, and I can now send that to my supplier. Now, of course, the question you may be asking is, what if I want to send that same quotation to multiple suppliers? Well, in SAP Business One, you have a neat feature that's called Purchase Quotation Generation Wizard. What that allows me to do is create a purchase quotation for multiple items and for multiple suppliers. So again, we'd be using that if we want to ask multiple suppliers to give us a quote on a particular item, a particular quantity, and by a particular date. So let's head over and give a set name. So test set name, with a description of whatever I might need. I can even skip this field, and it's going to tell me, do I want to base the quotation generation wizard on items or on purchase requests? I'm going to base it on items. I'm going to type in, so let's take 4 of these items, put the required date on each to be today, and this request will be valid until next week, so the 13th of September. I can also add some free text, so again some remarks, my group number, again I can put the valid until date, select from which warehouse I want to take those items or place those items to, sorry. I can clear the table or add new items. I'm going to click on next, and then I will get prompted with the field to select the preferred vendors associated with the selected items. So if I need it, if it's required, I can change the vendor or specify a different vendor for items, or even go without a preferred vendor. I like how these vendors look like. I don't want to change anything. I'm gonna go next. We're gonna preview our results once again so nothing messes up. Go to next, and I can execute it, save the parameter that I set and execute it, save the parameters and exit, and some perhaps continue later on. Create an online quotation and print all of the quotation. I can also select if an error occurs, I can stop the execution completely or skip to the next vendor. I'm going to go to next, and it's going to tell me that I'm going to create multiple purchase quotations and that I cannot cancel this operation. Do I want to continue? I'm going to go to yes, and 2 purchase quotations were created. That's what I wanted, and I'm going to close. So that's the purchase quotation wizard. Basically takes you through the whole process step by step and gives you the chance to save yourself time and create multiple purchase quotations for multiple vendors. As I said earlier, for our purchase quotations, we can create a purchase quotation not only for items but for services. So let's see how that will look and how this field will change. I'm going to select the same vendor, type in any reference number that I might need, set my required date, and change the type to services. And then this whole field changes. Since we don't need the items, we need services. We are no longer inputting the item number. We're going to input the description of the service that we might need. So installation of software for printers, the required date that I want the service to be done from, and a GL account that is going to be associated with this transaction. Document total for this type of service will be $50. And again, I have the same fields that I had prior. Select my sales employee once again. I'm going to update existing rows. The total will be calculated, the tax will be added up, and if I wish, I can add a discount in here. Again, I can put in some remarks. So please send out 3 technicians to install the software in our office. Again, go to add, and my purchase quotation for the service that I requested has been successfully created. The next step in the purchasing process potentially is the purchase order segment. So let's open up the purchase order section of the purchasing module. Again, we're going to type in our vendor that we wish to create a purchase order for, our reference number, and our document number, our status, posting date, and all the dates can be changed if I wish to, but I'm going to leave them as they are. So a neat functionality in SAP Business One is that we don't have to always create everything from scratch. If I want to follow the process, so from a quotation to an order to a goods receipt to an AP invoice, I can simply open up my purchase order, add my vendor that I have previously created a purchase quotation for, head over to the Copy From button and select a purchase quotation. It will take the data for the vendor and put in my quotation that I typed in prior. I'm simply going to go to choose and do I want to close, and I'm going to get prompted with the window if I want to close other purchase quotations with the same number. I'm going to click on yes, and I'm going to get a draw document wizard that's basically going to ask me which exchange rate I want to use in my purchase order. Do I want to use the exchange rates from the base document, or do I want to use the exchange rates from the exchange rates table? I'm going to select the third option, click on finish, and it's going to take all of the data from the purchase quotation, input them as they are in my purchase order, and that saved me a lot of time, and it's a really neat functionality, so I don't have to type in everything again and risk messing something up. As we can see in the remarks, it has also taken that, but it's also added a little note that says that this document was based on a purchase quotation with the number of the document, which is 5. We're going to go to add, and our purchase order has been created successfully. If I go to my last data record, we can see it has been saved successfully with all the data in the logistics tab, which has been taken from the business partner master data with all the addresses, all the accounting information checks out, and I can add in some attachments if I wish to. Now, if my purchase order was for goods which are going to be received into my warehouse, like this item for example, the next step would be to create a goods receipt PO as the goods are received into the warehouse. So I'm going to go into goods receipt PO, select the same vendor that I used for my purchase order, so Max Smith, input the reference number, scroll down to the bottom, and then once again, just so I can save time, use the functionality of the copy from, but I'm going to select a purchase order. So we can see our purchase order that we created just now. Again, same draw document wizard, and we can see that we have our goods receipt PO made with our remarks. So it's based on a purchase quotation with document number 5 and based on a purchase order 1266. So from what type of document can we also copy data from? When we click on this little arrow in the bottom corner, we can see we can copy data from a purchase quotation, from a purchase order, goods return, reserve invoice, or a blanket agreement. So you can see we're not limited to following the process. We could have gone from a purchase quotation straight to goods receipt PO, so we don't have to always follow the same workflow. We could have also typed in everything from scratch, so have a goods receipt PO, type in the vendor, add the item, do everything manually. Whatever you need, SAP gives you the complete flexibility and all of the functionalities that you might need from an ERP software. So now we're going to add our goods receipt PO. It's going to tell us that we cannot change this document after addition. We're going to click on yes, and now after this document has been created, what the system has now done, it has copied through everything from the purchase order into a goods receipt, and I can see the goods receipt there. Now the goods receipt is in, and the stock is physically in our warehouse that we selected. Now to finish everything off, we're going to do an AP invoice. Once again, what I'll do is I'll simply pick my vendor or my supplier, type in its reference number, type in all the dates, so the posting date will be today, the due date for this invoice will be tomorrow, and the document date will be the same as the posting date. Use the copy from functionality once again, copy everything from a goods receipt PO that I created. As you can see, I have multiple goods receipts here. I'm going to use the goods receipt that I created today, click on choose, take the exchange rates, add my AP invoice. Couple of other things to note. Firstly, I can right click and I can get informations. If I have a similar AP invoice and I want to copy it to a similar AP invoice that I wish to create it, I can use the duplicate function. So the duplicate function will take all of the relevant information about the item and copy it, and then I can simply choose a different vendor, change anything that I wish, but you're going to use this if over 50% of the data will stay the same. I can look at my base document from which this was created, so using the base document function. I can also go in and see row details which gives you a lot of more details associated with this particular AP invoice. How many of these items do I have in stock? What's my open quantity, my committed quantity, etc. Now, I can see my volume and weight calculations, my opening and closing remarks, inventory posting lists, related activities, transaction journals, journal entries, applied transactions, and a relationship map. So in this instance, on this AP invoice or in a purchase order, I can create an activity which will tell me a lot more details associated with this particular AP invoice. In this instance, on this AP invoice, I can create an activity and assign it to someone else in the organization. As an example, I might create a large purchase order and create an activity for my manager to review that either through the workflow or a standard activity. So I can create activities and attach this AP invoice to that activity and assign it to someone in the organization, which is a very nice feature in SAP Business One. Another really nice feature is I can take a look at the relationship map associated with these documents. So in this instance, it's going to show me that my purchase quotation became my purchase order, then turned into a goods receipt PO, and finished off as an AP invoice. If I wish to drill down to any of these documents, so let's say I want to go into the goods receipt PO, I can simply double click on it, it will open up my goods receipt PO. Let's say I want to go down even deeper, check all of the statistics for the item, and I want to see the purchasing data, the sales data, the inventory data, planning data, anything that's related to this item that I've created in SAP Business One through the item master data, I can see directly from here. So a really nice feature to go in more in depth and more in detail about all of your documents. Another element to note in the purchasing module is that I can do recurring transactions. I can also do landed costs, so for example the ability to add in freight insurance and other costs associated with bringing the items into the country from overseas and then associating those costs to the item and apportioning the costs of the freight, taxes, etc. In the purchasing module in SAP Business One, we also have a procurement confirmation wizard. Now, if I want to use it, and I also have the purchase quotation generation wizard that we looked at a little earlier. I can, of course, when creating purchase orders, I can PDF those and I can send them directly via fax or email from within SAP Business One. So let's say I've just created a purchase order. I simply go up here in the toolbar section, click on PDF. I can also use MS Word, I can use Excel, I can fax them, I can do whatever I want to send them to my supplier. I have, as with other parts of the system, easy access to reports. So if, for example, I wanted to see all of my open purchase orders, I simply click on Purchasing Reports, head over to the Open Items list, and here I can see all of my open items lists, and here in the Open Documents drop-down menu, I select the type of item that I want to choose. So let's say I want to see all of my open purchase orders. I see them listed out here, all transparent, and anything that I might need from those purchase orders. Document draft reports is very nice since it allows me to. So after I've selected the user that I wanted to see, the document draft reports, and then selected the types of documents that I want to see, so I selected all of the documents, I can see all of the documents that were saved as a draft. So I see that a purchase order with a document number of 1256 was left open. I'm going to select that, open up that through the orange arrow on the document number, add another item. So SAP gives me all of the flexibility that I might need. I have the ability to create a document, save it as a draft, come back and finish that later on. In SAP Business One, we also have the purchase analysis, where I can go in and choose Do I want to see the analysis by vendor, by item, or by sales employee? I have different fields that help me filter out which sales analysis do I want to see. Do I want it to be annual report, monthly report, a quarterly report? Do I want to see AP invoices, orders, etc.? From which date and by which date? Will it be posting date, due date, document date? Which vendors do I want to see the report for, etc.? So after I've added all my filters, I can see my purchase analysis. So in this case, I chose a purchase analysis by vendor, annual report, so I can see all of my vendors, the amount of invoices, the total amount that was invoiced, and the total. So that covers the topic of purchasing in SAP Business One. There are obviously extended features and extended modules too, which allow us to do elements like purchase planning through integrated applications, but that's not covered in this particular session. This particular session was just a brief overview of the purchasing process in SAP Business One. What we wanted to cover off here was more of the standard workflow within the software. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the presentation.